Hey guys, happy Tuesday. The show's a little bit late this week. It's 8:30. I usually try to do 8 o'clock, but this might be the new time. Just a forewarning. Thanks to everybody in advance who is coming live. And if you're in the replay game, thank you guys so much. And please like this video. This week's show is just some updates to things that we've been talking about, but it's such a salacious topic because how it can affect people specifically financially. So the first thing I'm going to go over is the big beautiful bill Senate update. It passed in the Senate today actually because they're trying to get it passed by Friday, which is July 4th. Then I want to go in a little bit about hospital effects on local communities because this bill is proving that it's going to affect hospitals. And I have a little bit of professional insight on how that is very true. And I want to bring that to the forefront to educate like what can actually be in our zeitgeist in the next year, 3 years, however long this bill is going to go into effect. And then I want to talk about how America's national debt is becoming a problem for us because internationally people see us as a risk. And I think it's very funny because the government is like, oh, you need to pay your debt. But it's like, y'all got to pay y'all debt first. So let's talk about it. Hi, East Buggy. Happy Tuesday to you as well. Thanks for being a loyal watcher. Really appreciate you. So the big, beautiful bill and how it's being updated. It passed in the Senate today. And it's going to do a few things generally that the Senate agreed with the House. What they want to do is make the 2017 tax cuts permanent. When it passed in 2017, it was supposed to sunset December of this year, 2025. And if this doesn't pass, then the income taxes for most Americans is going to go back up. That's how it kind of was made attractive for people because the big sell was it's going to make taxes for the normal person more affordable. They got rid of like the certain itemized thing. You can still itemize, but they got like a general deduction and they instead of making it complicated. And that deduction is like $15,000. I think it's going to be $16,000 around that amount starting in 2026. Another thing that you can generally say from the Senate's version of the bill is that there's larger spending overall. It's going to add to our national debt in the next coming years. And in order to offset that spending, they cut health benefits and they cut food benefits. And the House is going now to have to agree on the differences. If they agree with everything, then it can go to the president and he can sign it. The goal again is July 4th. But more than likely, they're not going to agree and it's going to have to go back to the Senate. They're trying to push it. I don't know realistically how that's going to happen, but yeah. I did want to separate things into like the winners and the losers, how it stands right now, how it's going back to the Senate. To the House. And I got my source from USA Today if you guys want to look it up. But the 5 winners slated for this new big bill is high income earners. So if you make more than a little bit more than $200,000 a year, you are winning because you're not paying as much taxes. And that was the goal for a lot of people. Like a lot of high income earners are upset that they have to pay taxes. However you feel about it, which side you're on the aisle of the center, whether you're more left or more right, this is where we're at currently. That high income earners are going to do better in this particular tax. One thing that lower income earners possibly can do better is that if you have children, the child tax credit is going to be continued. Now, the House and the Senate had different amounts that they wanted to do. The House originally wanted $2,500, but the Senate sent it back for $2,200. Regardless, They were set to expire at the end of this year anyway. So they're going to keep that. Another thing that is a winner is if you plan on buying an American car in the next few years, because they are going to allow you to deduct up to $10,000 of that car loan's interest on your income taxes. Now, I was kind of excited about this because y'all know I'm not trying to buy a car, but I need to buy a car. I kind of miss having a car. And then there are days when I don't. But you need a car in America. And I was like, I heard about it when I was doing research in the beginning, but then today I learned specifically an American car. I'm like, and no offense to people who like American cars, but I'm like, I'm not trying to buy an American car. But if you are in the market for Ford, what is it? Chevy, GMC, Dodge, all them people, you can possibly get a credit. Over time, pay taxes on those are set to be decreased. There's another person here in the chat. Go ahead and say hi. Don't be shy. And then if you work on tips, if you're a tip worker, those taxes are slated to be decreased as well. Now, I am a tip worker and I do report my tips, honestly, because I've never been one to want Uncle Sam looking for me. That's never going to happen. Take your money off the top because you will not be looking for me. I don't like anybody looking for me for money. So I don't know how that's going to affect me personally, but I mean, I'm welcome to it. You know, a high tide lifts all boats. And yeah, okay, I'll take it. Whatever. Now let's talk about the losers. The losers in this case will be people who make low income. And that is what they slate in this bill after the Senate tossed it back to the House, is anybody who's making less than $51,000 per year. That is kind of technically me. So it is what it is. No big deal. Like, all right, I'll deal with it. But that's the first person that they slate that are not, because those people, they're slated to pay $700 to $1,000 more in income taxes than those people who make a lot more money. Those people who are making over $200,000 a year. Now, $700 to $1,000 is not a lot, but in comparison, they're going to feel it more than someone who's making $200,000 a year. Another candidate for losing in this situation are people who have student loan debt. And that's self-explanatory because student loan debt is not fun. And they are being harsher. I think in this case, what they're doing is they're not offering any help. So with the administration making things more difficult, there is no aid to try to buffer that. So you are SOL. Pretty much. There's two other people in the chat. Go ahead and say hi, guys. Welcome. Thanks for hopping in. The next set of losers in this updated big beautiful bill is the whole country, because our national debt is supposed to increase by $3.8 trillion by 2034, which is crazy. Because when I was typing this, I'm like 2034. I remember when I was writing things for 2005. 34 is upon us, about 10 years. But yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to afford that, y'all. Because somebody has to pay the bill. But that's something to think about. The next set of losers in this bill is people who use Medicaid and people who use SNAP, which is a supplemental nutritional something program. So it's helping people who are food insufficient. 2 million people are considered food insufficient, and on the program, it's going to be harder for them to feed themselves. And again, this is why they say, like, in this bill, it's more expensive to be poor, because if you are poor and your SNAP is taken away, you got to pay more money to put food in your on your table. And then also 7 to 12 million people are slated to lose their health care. As opposed to the first presidency administration of this president, like, he tried to get rid of the ACA. What I see is, okay, so that was like stopped, but he's like, if I can't go over the ACA, go after the ACA, I'll just go after Medicaid, because that's what's happening. 7 to 12 million people use Medicaid, and they're about to be kicked off. And then the last set of people, which this educated me, I'm pretty sure that it's going to give y'all some insight, is that undocumented people. Now that makes sense. But what I didn't know, just because this is not part of my zeitgeist, is that I guess asylum application used to be free. But now anybody seeking to file for asylum in the United States, they're gonna have to pay $1,000. And I do know, because I'm second generation, is that it's expensive to get into this country. There are fees. And that was the legal way. So this is a new thing. And then also, you guys might not be able to see it because of this thing, but it is going to cost $500 for them to get a work authorization every 6 months. So that is $1,000 a year per person who is for someone who is undocumented, trying to go through the legal routes that they're providing. I guess before this wasn't a fee, but like they're making money off of these people. And should they not, they're going to be in trouble, I guess, with immigration. So this leaded me into like hospitals. Local hospitals are slated to be the biggest unbeneficiaries of the big, beautiful bill going through. And mainly it's because hospitals serve as large employers in big cities and small towns. Because not only do you have the medical staff, but you have the non-clinical staff and you have the support staff. And the plurality slated of these hospitals are looking to be closed down if it passes currently, because these hospitals rely on federal payments to keep the lights on. And the reason why is because private insurance likes to go back and forth and fight for what they're going to pay for claims. So like when I go to the doctor, or when East Boogie goes to the doctor, or the other person who's watching this, like if we have private insurance, we don't get the bill right away. They bill the thing, and then if it goes according to Blue Cross's criteria, Humana's criteria, it's not even a guarantee that they'll pay it, but then they'll pay it. But if they can find like any caveat that the doctor didn't do or did do that they weren't supposed to do, they can just say, we're not going to pay for that. That is a lot of back and forth. When I worked in healthcare, that happened. We would get audited at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, and they would look for claims that we missed one thing. And it was often where, I mean, it could be as simple as we had to pay back $1,000, but it could be as really devastating as we had to pay them back $20,000 because they found a whole bunch of claims of how we didn't document the medication. So when you have Medicare, Medicaid, those come from government funding. In the process of fighting for private healthcare, those checks keep literally the lights on, keep literally payroll for the doctors, nurses, therapists, technicians, pharmacists, pharmacy technicians, all of that, while you get the 30-day, 90-day, 60-day payments from private care. If you don't have that, especially in the rural cases where those people are not insured, they are going to have to cut back. So these closures cause the hospitals to make tough decisions. Some of those tough decisions are that whole departments are cut out because they're not considered vital. You know, so you have med surge, you have emergency departments, you have primary care, you have cancer floors and stuff like that. But some things that they don't seem vital, that aren't as productive in like bringing in money, they will cut out. And they're finding a lot of the first types of specialties that get cut out are emergency departments and female care, women who are having babies, or just general sexual care for females. That's not good, because in this country, if you want people to have babies, it's more dangerous for a woman to have a baby. And also, another tough decision that these hospitals have to make is that layoffs are going to happen, and or hiring freezes are going to happen. Nobody else is going to get a job for the most vital people that they can keep. But when layoffs happen, the people that stay, they do the job of the people that were laid off. So instead of doing your job for one person, you're doing the job for 3 people, maybe 4 people, and that is stressful, and you get subprime medical care. So even if you are not on Medicaid, like I'm not on Medicaid at the moment, I'm not privately insured though, because I can't afford that, or I prefer not to afford it. I'm on Obamacare. But if this stuff gets taken away, we can almost guarantee that our private insurance and our Obamacare is going to go up, because if healthcare generally costs $5 billion, if one aspect of it's taken away, the Medicare and Medicare, they're just going to divide it amongst fewer things than the extra thing that they have. So we are going to see, let's say you work at your job and it only costs you like $150 a month. Next time when you renew it for the next fiscal year, that thing could be $250 to $350, because insurance companies are still going to pursue profits on their profit and loss until the government intervenes in that. But it doesn't look like that's a priority. And the economics of it all is that in those communities, and people are focusing on rural, but I think it can happen in big cities too. Because like in Miami, we have a big government hospital. It's one of the best hospitals, at least in Florida, probably the country, Jackson Health. It's a government trusted place. And it has top tier hospital care, has a top tier trauma center. But if we lose that money, those people are going to lose their jobs too. And it's going to affect a bigger city's community and economy. But the average income is going to be decreased because a lot of people are going to lose their jobs. Population locally is going to be decreased, honestly, because of death, not because people are moving. We have to be honest, people are going to die. Healthcare, and we got to pray to whoever you pray to that that's not you, it doesn't befall in your home. But it's not because people are moving, because people don't move from rural places. People usually move to rural places when they can't afford city metros. And then the last thing is poverty is going to be increased because, again, it's more expensive to be poor. You have to pay out more stuff, and if you can't make a money from a money tree. So another thing we got to think about when hospital effects on local economies is that nursing homes are in danger too, because nursing homes are largely funded by Medicaid. So if and when that goes away, those shut down just drastically in number, and the clinical and the non-clinical staff is shut down. So current students, nursing students, doctor students, therapist students, this is something I think that they're going to have to come to grasp for, because I don't think having a job in healthcare is necessarily one of those safe jobs anymore. They're just going to, instead of 10 nurses, they're going to go off of 5. And for doctors, they're going to do the same thing. And then therapists may not be necessary or contracted if the budget doesn't allow. And if your family members who need that care can't go to a nursing home, where are they going? They're going to go to that extra room in your house or that couch in your living room. Private health insurance costs are set to increase. And it's not just Obamacare. Like I said, it's private care through your employer. I remember when I first started my job, it was like $95 a month when I worked at my corporate job. And then by the end, it was like $150. So it's probably like $200 at this point. And then things are about to be $300, $400. And that used to be a perk of being employed. You got subsidized healthcare. Those contracts are not going to be able to be subsidized as much because, again, these Aetna, United Healthcare, Humana, CVS Caremark, Blue Cross Blue Shield, nothing is stopping them from maintaining profit in that profit and loss sheets. The government is letting them do it, so they're going to do it. So in the meantime, between now and the end of this year, it is time to prepare for an increased cost of living. That means investing in your personal health, watching what you eat, exercising, even if it's walking. Being ambulatory is key. Ambulatory means walking. It's simple, but that is important. Walking, getting sun is a minimum, and then watching what you eat and not eating terrible food as much as you can before food prices potentially go up. And then we need to be mindful of elderly family member health. If that is something that you see that is possible for you, which is most people in America. Most people have older people in their family. There's this Medicaid nursing home loophole where they used to be able to, your older people in your family used to be able to do a revocable trust where they could claim that they didn't have any assets because it's in the trust now. I think that's probably gone. I haven't been able to find anything on it yet, but I put it here on the PowerPoint because if you guys know about it, I want you to start thinking about like that is a possibility. And that might not be a thing that people are going to be able to do anymore. Taking care of your elderly family members is no longer going to be able to be pushed off on medical professionals anymore, at least through Medicaid. So what does that mean? You have to be very rich, making that income of greater than 217,000. You might have a chance to pay it then. And the last thing I want to talk about today is national debt. I have a little picture over here on the right of the screen, but I have a bigger one in the next slide. So this is a view of over a century of how the national debt has been. And the first real high peak was during a little bit after World War II. And then from the 50s to the 80s, it went down. And then around the 80s, it started to creep back up. 2008 is when it had a really high slope during the Great Recession. And then the next one was 2020 when COVID-19 started the pandemic. So let's go back to the last slide. I just wanted to make a note that America cannot judge student loan carriers because America, the government, where we stand as a country, is that our debt is at $36 trillion. And the tariffs are a reason why the president is pursuing that is because he's trying to increase revenue and make our economy a little bit stronger so we can renegotiate interest rates coming up in 2026. Whether that is working or not, we don't know because the pause of 90 days stops next week. But that was one of the reasons why he did it, because our payments are becoming solely interest payments and we're not bringing it down. So if interest rates are lower, we can like kind of refinance our debt. But nobody knows if that's really going to happen. And the reason why this is bad for us as Americans is because investors are seeking other nations to invest. They're not interested in our Fed Treasury anymore. They're not interested in putting money into America because we are not as safe as a place because our debt is getting out of control. And when our debt is out of control, we can't pay our investors because all of our money is going to our interest. So there's less demand for American investment, and ultimately people are looking at other places. And one hotspot that they're looking at is Latin America. So I put the Mexican flag down here in Argentina. Those are the countries that are really the hotspots that people who are looking to invest with us, like Germany, China, and Japan, they're looking to invest over there. And people are even looking at India because India has a lot of manufacturing going on. So they're experiencing like an economic boom and people are trying to get into that. So that helps me and y'all because I be telling y'all, like, I have been looking at for 2026 international things. I'm only invested in one international thing and it's doing good. When the stock market went poo-poo in April, that was fine. So I'm like, ooh, I want to buffer myself against other things. So I am looking at other ETFs internationally that have international equities. And I said I was going to do y'all a video and I'm preparing that. It's coming out very soon this month. But yeah, I'm going to look around the whole world because America might not be where it's at. And that's pretty much it. You know, my normal gold pricing, gold is not at its peak, but it's getting up there. It was like $10 cheap last time I came to this week. It's $10 more, but it's not the highest where it was in May. So I still think it's a good option. And then to wrap up, the big beautiful bill still has to go back to the House. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do think it's going to get passed. I just think we need to prepare for the realities of what that passage is going to look like for normal Americans. Hospitals are a vital part of our economy and life, and it's going to make economies kind of shrivel up, and it's really dangerous for people's health. And those consequences are very drastic. So I think it's important that we look at the details so we can try to prepare our finances as much as we can now. Our American debt is getting out of control. So I don't know how this is going to play. Like, let's say all of us paid off our debt, like personal, like the citizens. What happens if America like defaults on their debt? Nobody's really talked about that because I think we keep pushing the can down the road. But 2026 is going to be a big year, and the president was hoping that his tariffs would help us. It's not looking like it's going to help us right now. And then gold is still up overall. That's all I have for this week, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out, especially the replay gang. I appreciate y'all show up afterwards because y'all have been showing up and I really appreciate it. We're gonna keep moving forward. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. My next video comes out in a few days, and drop down in the comments if you have any concerns, questions, and we'll talk about it there. Until next week, bye.